Namaste.
Welcome to Impact Travelogue by Harmony Inc. At Impact Travelogue, we bring stories of change makers at the grassroots who are solving for sustainability challenges and also impact leaders who are building capacities at not only civil society organization level but also the India Inc. We have one such leader with us, Mr. Shankar Venkateswaran, who's operating partner and head ESG at 𝗘𝗲𝘀𝘁 Investment Advisory Private Limited. Thank you, Shankar, for joining us in this conversation. Now, talking about resources from a human resources angle, as you know, ESG suddenly boomed up last 2 years, and there are so many people who want to get into that space. What would be certain skill sets that you feel are required for professionals to get into this particular space?
Yeah, so I'm a bit I sometimes amused and sometimes concerned by this increased interest because I'm wondering where it came from. For many people of our generation, and I certainly would say for you and me, it came out because that was fundamentally what we were concerned about. We were interested in. We were not saying, okay, this is a career option, and now let's sort of go there. We did it because we found it important. And I think that's really the difference between sort of understanding, developing an understanding for these things based on an interest and a passion versus just as something that will get you somewhere. And I think that's what worries me about this, because I run into a lot of people who say they are interested, but when you question them closely on it, they have a very, very superficial idea. Yeah, so there is, so for example, I have, talked to people and, talked about climate change. Now, of course, the problem with climate change is the language is very complicated and nobody makes it easy, right? So everybody, when I ask them what is 2 degrees, and it takes them 5 questions before they even start thinking about what 2 degrees means. So they don't know by which year it means, they don't know what the base is, they don't know what it means. So I think there is a huge knowledge gap. It's one thing to say I'm interested in ESG, but I think if you're interested in ESG, you should at least know some very basics about it before you say you're interested. So I think, so yes, there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of knowledge provision required. But I think all that will really only make sense if the people themselves are genuinely interested and care about it. Otherwise, it's going to be, I'm just worried that the next big thing comes and that's it, they're going to just go away. So, that's my concern. But yes, investing in this, investing in knowledge at a more deeper level, and not just as an instrumentality, is what is required, and we don't do enough of it. Happy to say that. So for example, I teach at IIM Shillong, and we have a compulsory course at IIM Shillong for all young MBAs called Sustainability in Business. So we cover a whole lot of these kinds of things. So we cover, what are the trends, environmental and social trends that are coming. How are stakeholders pushing the agenda? How do you build a strategy? All that is covered in that, and that's part of a compulsory course that they have to do. So it's a whole 20 session course. So when you do things like that, then it gets a little bit more embedded, and people have a larger and a more sort of enduring commitment to wanting to do that. So I think those might be the ways forward. I mean, I worry about these 1-day, 2-day courses and so on, because I don't know to what depth you can possibly go to in that.
No, definitely. Coming to this, ESG has become, like, as I mentioned, last 2 years has become such a buzzword. But then in India, I think CSR was, there already. And because of the law, it's mandatory. So a lot of professionals are getting into that space also. And do you see the role of CSR getting somewhere minimized with this buzz or ESG?
No,
or is it a subset, or how do you see that?
Yeah, so I'm very clear about the fact that, so first of all, I'm not a great fan of the term ESG. Okay, I have to confess. Although that is part of the title that I have in 𝗘𝗲𝘀𝘁. I prefer the word sustainability for the simple reason that portrays a more holistic understanding of this. ESG siloizes. So, so if you take climate change, and we talked about coal, now when you look at climate change, everybody looks at mitigation and says it's about reducing carbon emissions. Very few people talk about adaptation, and adaptation is a hugely social issue. The impacts of climate change are all social. So, how can you just say do you call it an environmental issue or a social issue? You call it a sustainability issue. It's both. So I think that's the way one needs to look at this. It's the same thing with CSR. Now, the way I look at it is that as a company, when you're looking at your sustainability strategy, you have to figure out what are the issues that are material to your business. Now, if community engagement is a material issue, then CSR becomes part of sustainability. So, to me, the larger idea is sustainability, which is how you make your profits in the first place. And do you do it in a manner that minimizes impacts on society and the environment, maximizes the benefits on that? Is it ethical? Those are the questions that sustainability sort of addresses. CSR addresses what do I do with my profits. So to me, it's a consequence. It's not one or the other. And in fact, I would argue that if you run your business in a manner which is sustainable, the need for you to want to do anything extra as CSR will probably be minimal, because you would not negatively impact society or communities around you, for example, because that's what sustainable behavior is. So I think CSR, to answer your question, is a subset of a larger sustainability issue, and it becomes material because of the nature of your business. For example, if you're in manufacturing, it is material. Whether you like it or not, it is material, because every manufacturing process disrupts communities around you. If you're in a service industry, arguably it is not material for you. But you might still see some benefits from a business point of view to do that. But it becomes material the moment it becomes a law, right? So then you have to do it. So that's the way I see CSR. So I definitely see it as a part of the larger sustainability strategy of a company. It is where it is material, it is therefore important for that company to engage with it, and engage with it properly, like they would do with any element of their strategy. And I think, to me, that's the determination that needs to be made.